Welcome back to Light Talk, where everyday people can share their spiritual journey experiences with a safe and supportive community. If you'd like to be a guest on the show and share your stories, email lighttalk423 at gmail.com. While you're at it, please click on your like, share, and subscribe buttons. Hope to hear from you.
Yeah. So I am Dr. Lisa Thompson. I am a best-selling author, a speaker, a Galactic Ambassador and Channeler, and an Intuitive Transformational Guide. And I specialize in quantum cosmic energy healing, parallel life regression therapy. Most people think of it as past life, but it's actually parallel lives, human design, and sound healing. So I also lead night sky watch UFO tours here in my home state of Hawaii on the Big Island, where I take people out to see the night sky in a whole new way using advanced Generation 3 military night vision goggles. So I work with people in a lot of different ways. And ultimately, though, how I got into this, it was kind of a windy path, but historically, I grew up in a very spiritual, metaphysical household. My mother was an astrologer through up until I was about 13. And then we moved from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma to Yelm, Washington to attend the Ramtha School of Enlightenment. So for those who aren't familiar with the school, Ramtha is a channeled ascended master that speaks through a lady named Jay-Z Knight. And so the information that's being shared is from a higher dimensional reality. And so from the age of 13 and now I'm 51, I've been learning about higher consciousness, higher dimensional reality, understanding how we create our reality consciously and unconsciously, and that we are all connected, we are all one. And in that school, I was also learning about extraterrestrials and other dimensional beings like fairies and dragons, mer people. And when I was 15, that's when I had my first conscious memory of being taken onto a craft. So would you like to hear that story now?
Oh, I would love to hear it. I am so excited. I'm
Okay.
thrilled about your stories.
Okay, well, and why I wanted to bring up the Ramp School is because that actually has an important tie-in to what happened with this situation. So it was a nighttime experience and I was asleep. So I don't remember how I ended up getting onto the craft, but all of a sudden I'm inside of this spacecraft and it was a smaller shuttlecraft. It was just me and my ET guide. And what was interesting about this is I had absolutely no fear whatsoever. Um, Couple reasons for that. Number one, my guide, he looked completely human. And he was maybe just a few years older than me. And
That's
second,
helpful.
yeah, the second thing is that he felt so familiar, like he was my friend, like I knew him already. And so, and it turns out that I had been with them many times. So that's why it was so familiar. So what I remember is flying through space. And in this craft that we were in at least from the inside perspective,
Okay.
it looked like the walls were completely transparent, where you could just fully see out into space. So you could see the darkness, the pinpoints of the starlight, and as we're passing through the different gas layers, the beautiful colors of those.
Oh,
So if you've
I'm
ever seen
jealous.
yeah. So if you, what I what it kind of reminds me of are the new photos coming back from the James Webb Telescope that are showing the nebulas and all the beautiful colors of the gases. That's what it was like flying through. So then we finally land where we were going. And when we landed, I asked him, okay, where are we? And he said that we were inside of Io, one of Jupiter's moons. And
Oh.
yeah. Then he started touring me around what looked kind of like a hospital facility. So I could see into different rooms and there were other, humans getting in these rooms, or everyone looked really human, but people were being examined, but nothing scary at all. And so my next question to him was, are you human? You look human. Is everyone here human? And he said, no, those of you that we brought here are human, but we are not human. We're humanoid, but we disguise ourselves because our form tends to scare you. And so Then my next question was, well, why are we here? Why am I here specifically? And what he shared was that those of us that had been chosen to be brought there were being tested to see if something happened to Earth, if we could live in an environment like that or something similar. Now, this was back in 1988. So we were still in the Cold War and we were on the verge of World War III. So there really was a timeline where something really could have happened to Earth.
Oh,
And so,
wow.
yeah. And so then at the end of the tour that he's showing me around, and on this particular trip, I wasn't being tested at all. I did not get put into one of these rooms because I know that that's something that I had done on previous trips. And it was like regular checkups that they were doing. And so at the end of the tour, I asked him if I could see what he really looked like. And so as a child, I was obsessed with animals, and the weirder the animal, the better for me. So I thought if I saw what he really looked like, there wouldn't be any fear around that. So when he showed me his true form, he was about 7 feet tall. He had pure white skin, big dark eyes, and then very long red hair, and like
Oh,
really red, not like earth human red, like super red.
oh,
And
wow.
and then he had triads or triangles tattooed on his cheeks. So very extreme in his like height and coloration. And so I could see where some people would be afraid of that kind of form. In a way, it was kind of like scary clown kind of look.
Oh,
But
no.
anyway, but completely benevolent, right? So then I get returned back home. And I remember just laying in my bed and I was thinking, okay, that is the weirdest dream I've ever had. And I just kept laying there like weird dream. And I kind of had the little essence memory of the craft, like being in my backyard and taking off again. And so I just thought it was a dream. But with dreams, we tend to forget details within the first 10 minutes of waking up. And so, but I didn't really know that as a 15-year-old.
Right,
So then
right.
fast forward a few months later after that, I was reading Whitley Strieber's book, Communion, which is his book, for those who haven't read it, his book about his experiences of being taken by gray ETs. And at the end of the book, he's interviewing different people that had been taken by ETs. And they all had the same kind of gray ET experience that he had, except for one guy who had a completely different story. And what he was sharing with Whitley was that he had been taken to a moon of Jupiter and told he was one of the chosen ones. And then Whitley made a little side comment, kind of sarcastically, I hope it isn't Io. And as soon as I read that, my body had head to toe chills. Tears started coming down my face. And so that was
Oh,
my
my.
body's way of telling me that, okay, that was a real experience. That was not a dream.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Wow. So with the moon there, they say that our moon is hollow.
yeah.
So is that, so you're saying that that's true, with our,
Well,
or is,
okay. So
yes.
hollow, just like some people say the earth is hollow, and there are inner earth beings. Now, is it truly fully hollow? That's a question that, we can't necessarily prove scientifically, but there are inner earth and like inner moon, inner other moons, other planets have beings that live inside of the planet. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're hollow, but they have
Okay.
areas where it's very livable. And that
Okay.
why Whitley would have made that comment about Io specifically is because Io is the most highly volcanic of all our planetary bodies in our solar system. So the surface is completely toxic. No one could withstand being on the surface. But inside, in all of these moons and planets in our solar system and elsewhere, you have a nice ambient environment where you aren't, don't have all the elements to
Yeah.
contend with.
So is
So
there like a, sorry, is there like an entrance, like a doorway they go through to get into the middle of the moons?
well, so some of I think different groups have different technologies.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, there are going to be different portals or entrances on these different planetary bodies. Just like here on Earth, some of our entrances are through the mountains and in the waterways for these craft to come in and out and the beings to come in and out. But
Okay.
so one thing that I want to then just continue the story.
Sure.
I when I had this epiphany of like, okay, that was a real experience. Now, at the time, again, my mother and I were part of the spiritual school of enlightenment. And so I knew that if I told her, she would believe me. And so I went and told her, and she got very excited. And then a few days later, she introduced me to one of the other students at the school who he had formerly been very high government, who knew about the different ETs that our government knows about and works with. And so I told him my story. And when I got to the part of describing him, he was like, I don't know that race. He said, but we do not know all of them. There are so many out there. We don't know all of them. But he said, you had a real experience. So not only did I get validation from my own body and knowing this, but then I also got that external validation from someone who, was in that kind of industry from that government perspective.
Right. Right.
And so what I know now, because I have had a couple of years ago, I had some more understanding around this group in terms of like, okay, why did they feel so familiar? And it's because I had been with them throughout my childhood. And they are a group that is actually not really known to Earth at all, which is why I've been trying to find them in some of the different like alien race almanac kind of books that people have
Right.
written. Like Craig Campobasso, he has one, and Elena Donnan, she's got one. And this group, they are not in any of them. And it's because they have very little interaction with Earth. They are not part of the Galactic Federation. They're very neutral in their stance, but they do have a strong connection to Arcturians, a relation to them, even though they are not Arcturians. And so that then feeds into the next story that I'd love to share with you.
Oh, bring them on.
Okay. Okay. So um, it was about 5.5 years ago that I was taking a psychic intuition class. And on the first night of class, our teacher led us through a meditative journey to meet a spirit guide that would help us get extra information if we needed it. Now, I'm again trained as a past life regression therapist, and I've done a lot of spirit guide journeys myself, led people through them. And so I've met, some of my human guides, some of my animal guides. This time, though, was completely different, where I went to a different realm. And in front of me were the most beautiful blue skinned beings. So they had larger bald heads, bigger eyes, skinny bodies, and this just beautiful blue skin. And they exuded the most pure love I've ever felt in my life, more so than anything here on earth. And so their message to me when I got there was, you are one of us, we are one of you, we are family. And so, and then,
Aww.
yeah, and I didn't know who they were at the time, but we were to then ask if they had a name they wanted to be called. And so even though there were a group of them, there was one to the front that was more of the spokesperson. And so the name that was given to me was Uluru. And so um, then, and I got a gift of a crystal. They gave me this kind of quartz crystal, which I didn't know the meaning of until later.
Okay.
So we come out of the journey and everyone's going around class sharing about their, spirit guides. Everyone has normal humans, but here I'm talking about these blue skin beings and their message. Now, as soon as I said the message, my teacher, who is one of the most gifted psychics I've ever met, she's like, oh, you just met your galactic family. And then there happened to be another lady in class who knew some of the different ET races and what they look like. Now, at this point in my life, even though I've seen UFOs throughout my entire life and I had the experience with the IO beings and I knew about the grays, I hadn't gone down the rabbit hole of different ET races. So when I described him, this one lady, Emily, she was like, it sounds like you're describing either the blue avians or the Arcturians. So I had to go home and Google what those were. But as soon as I saw the artist depictions of the Arcturians, It's
Uh-huh.
exactly what I saw in this journey. And so that validated that for me as
Oh,
well.
wow.
And so over the last, since I met them 5.5 years ago, I've been developing that connection stronger with them to understand my role with them, who I am with them. And it turns out I was actually meeting myself. So that spokesperson Uluru is actually one of my incarnations. We're all multidimensional. We all have many lives that we're
Oh,
living.
how exciting is that?
Right. Well, and so then I found out what the
Oh,
crystal represented. So in the Arcturian realm, I am a healer, master healer, but Arcturians don't need to heal themselves because they're higher dimensional beings that don't ever get sick. But what that healing does, that energy from the Arcturian realm gets sent down to here to me as Earth Lisa through that crystal. And then I got a crystal to receive that energy stronger. So I've got this Lemurian quartz crystal that
beautiful.
receives the energy. And what that does is it helps heal my body, but it also sends out this healing energy to the people in my environment. So whether it's direct clients or people that, I hug, or just that energy is continually running through me from that realm. And
That
they,
is cool.
yeah. And so the Arcturian, one of the beautiful things that they're here to help humanity with is emotional healing, because almost all illnesses, ailments come from emotional stuck emotions. It's basically stuck emotions, trauma
I'm
that,
learning that.
yeah, that have not been processed. And so that's over the last year and a half, what they have had me do then is to use that Arcturian energy and use some of the other modalities that I've learned to create my own modality, which I call quantum cosmic energy healing. So not only am I pulling in the Arcturian energy for that emotional healing, but I also work with Syrians for the physical healing and the mantis beings for overall master healing. And so those are a couple other races. I work with 13. I channel the Arcturians. That was the first group that wanted to channel through me. And that started when I was writing my book, Connection to the Cosmos, back in 2022. So they started channeling through writing first, because that's what I felt comfortable with. And then they really wanted to vocal channel. So I opened that channel up. And then beginning of last year, 2023, they were like, okay, we're bringing in 12 more groups. You need to share the messages of 12 other groups and more, but we're going to start with 12 additional ones. And so I led these galactic sessions where I let these 13 total, including the Arcturians, come through me to my, my students, and take them on these beautiful journeys of higher perspective understanding from these higher dimensional realms that would really improve their lives, elevate their lives. And so then those messages now got basically transcribed into my newest book, which is Wisdom of the Galactics, Channeled Messages to Elevate Your Life. And so, I know that my
Awesome.
experiences throughout my childhood and getting that seed planted of getting that validation as a teenager that, okay, the ETs are real and I have connection with them in so many ways, that planted the seed now for the work I do as a galactic ambassador. I didn't, for most of my life, I had to stay hidden. I felt like I had to stay hidden because I have a PhD in biology. I wanted to be taken seriously in my careers. I was in mortgage. I was an interior designer. And so I had to hide that part of me until I moved to Hawaii. And I was able to let go of all those masks. And that's when I started the UFO tour, started sharing my stories, which then led to me writing the books and the channeling and all of that.
Wow. So when you're doing your tours over there, how often do you actually meet up with another or with a UFO or see
Well,
one or what?
we see them nightly.
Nightly. Okay.
Yeah. Now how close they are, it's not like they're landing next to us.
Right.
Because number one, a lot of these craft are putting out such high amounts of energy that if they were to land in the field next to us, either the energy might physically hurt our bodies unless they send out some energy for that, or it would put us into a very deep sleep where we wouldn't even know the experience. So they tend to stay a little bit further away. And so sometimes, they're on top of the mountain or in the middle of the mountain. So I live at the foothill of Mauna Kea, um, which is our tallest mountain on the island. And so anyway, so there's sometimes there has been one out in the field with us, but it was far enough away that it wasn't going to, do anything energetically to us. But we use advanced Generation 3 military night vision goggles. And so what that does is it basically amplifies all of the light in the sky. So our eyes can only visibly perceive so much light, from stars and planets and other things, satellites. But with the goggles, you can see every pinpoint of starlight. You can see every satellite moving. I mean, and so then when you know what that known behavior is, which is what I teach people on the tour, how to know what is a satellite, what's an airplane, what's a shooting star. Once they know that behavior, then they can actually really see the incredible spacecraft activity we have. And we have a lot. But I've also, like, probably the closest one that I have personally experienced, it wasn't on tour, but it was just for me, was across the street above my neighbor's tree line. And I got photos of it, I got video, I was talking to it and it was confirming things that it was a spacecraft for me. And so, I just, because now this has become my life, I'm not hiding anymore. They're just showing up all the time. And they're like, okay, more, more. And, they want to be known, they want to be seen, but they can't go against our free will here on Earth. And so the more that people, one of my main missions in writing my books, doing my own podcasts that I have, teaching the classes that I teach on this, leading retreats, doing podcasts like yours, everything I do is to change the fear-based narrative of government, media, and Hollywood, because most of these beings that are coming and interacting with us are part of our family.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to take over and destroy us, they could have done so far long ago before we ever developed nuclear weapons or anything.
Right. That's what I
They're,
keep thinking. It's like they want to do something, they would have been done by now.
yes,
Long
they're
time.
actually
Yeah.
right. They're actually trying to do the opposite of that, where,
Right.
they're commonly seen around nuclear missile sites. They have been known to completely deactivate activated nuclear missiles. They've been known to shoot them out of the sky after launch. Like, they really are doing their best to protect us from destroying ourselves and destroying Earth. Because again, even if people are like, no, they're not our family. Well, number one, we have up to 22 different ET races in our DNA. But everything that we do here on Earth has a direct ripple effect out into the solar
Right.
system, the galaxy, the
Mhm.
universe, and through the dimensions.
Yeah.
And so, they do care about what we're doing. They want
Yeah.
us to stop warring. They want us to get along and get over the judgment of ourselves, to like get over the polarization. And that is ultimately what we're doing as we're shifting into fifth dimensional reality. But it can get really dark before it gets light again. And I think that's what we're experiencing now. But one of the
Okay.
most beautiful things that the Arcturians share, one of their big messages, is that all timelines exist simultaneously in the quantum realm. Everything is existing, and you get to choose what timeline you want to be a part of. And so, how you do that is by putting your focus on what you actually want in your life. Like, if you want to have beautiful reality, then you need to be as much in a state of joy, following your passion, playing, coming from a place of love, getting over your own judgment of yourself. And that naturally creates a different environment that you are experiencing, maybe than compared to your next door neighbor that might be focusing on, the news outlets, that like all the fear, all the war, all the the politics, none of that matters if you really want to be in a different timeline. Like some people, they just get sucked in, and that's the timeline they're going to create. But we all get to choose what timeline we want to be a part of.
Yeah, I haven't watched the news. Jeez, I don't think I've ever really watched the news, especially since I've been out on my own growing up and everything.
Yeah,
I don't even I don't even watch the news. I don't even
right,
know what the news is about anymore except for all the bad stuff. So I don't even watch it.
right.
Not even
Well,
worth it.
I mean, what it does when it's not that you have to be ignorant to everything
Right.
going on. However, it's on purpose to lower your frequency vibration. And the more that you stay in a lower frequency vibration, well, that is when you are going to have a harder life yourself.
I see that.
Yeah.
I see that. Yeah, and I don't even watch TV. I mean, I could go without even owning a TV, to be honest. I could probably go with that. I mean, I don't even watch it that much. I'd rather have a book in my hand than a
Yeah.
TV. Yeah.
Well, and one of the recommendations is that for those who do want to stay like aware of what is going on in their world, reading the news is better than watching it, because then it's a slower thing entering your brain, where you have a little more time to critically analyze the content that is being given to you. When you're continually bombarded with images and all the talking heads, that's when there's a lot of chaos that goes on in your brain, and it's brainwashing people
Yeah.
on both
I get.
sides.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I feel compelled to share about even my personal experiences. So one of the other couple of groups that interact with Earth, that are there are groups that I channel as well. So the Zetas are a specific gray race. We have so many different gray races out there, and grays are some of the groups that get bad raps, just like some reptilians get bad raps, but you
Right.
cannot lump all of those races into they're all bad. And
Right.
there might be some individuals that maybe are polarized like we are as earth humans, that might be
Uh
more
huh.
service to self, but most of them are in these higher dimensional realms where they understand love and unity, and they're all about that. But the Zetas specifically, they have soul level agreements with some earth humans like myself, where I have volunteered at a soul level contract to basically be part of this hybridization program that the Zetas are doing. So what they're doing is they are taking the best parts of the Zeta DNA, the best parts of the human DNA, creating a spiritually advanced race of hybrids who at some point, there are timelines where at some point, even soon, where our hybrid children are going to be able to live here among Earth with us. Because right now they only have spaceship homes, essentially. They don't have a home
Okay.
planet. But so I am part of this hybrid program. I have several friends that are also part of the hybrid program. And I think people, when they feel violated, like, oh my God, my eggs were taken, my sperm was taken, when they don't understand it from that higher perspective of like, you signed up for that, whether you want to believe it or not,
Yeah. Right.
you agreed to that, and it's for a greater good. Like it's for a beautiful thing. And so
Yeah.
for me, when I discovered this, I'm like, well, of course I signed up for this. Yes, I would have been like, yeah, I'll go. So, 'cause a lot of us that are part of the program, we have a Zeta incarnation where we're Zetas then deciding to incarnate as Earth human to be part of that program. So it's that kind of agreement.
Well, that's really cool, and that's a good note to end on. So, we're running out of time here, but yes, that's awesome. You are just amazing with what you've been through, and all your stories is just amazing. Um, yeah, but we gotta go. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And I hope you all enjoyed having Lisa with us today. And we will hopefully have you on again.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you, everybody. And if you want to be a guest on the show, email lighttalk423@gmail.com. And we'll see you then. All right.
Aloha.
Bye.